Hi, guys. Welcome back to the third chapter of this module of nervous system. So, where are we standing right now? What we're going to describe in this chapter, the peripheral nervous system, the somatic division of the peripheral nervous system. So, I hope you are fairly oriented in what we're going to describe. Just in case, I included one more time this slide to know what we have described so far, what are we going to describe in this chapter and in the next and last chapter of nervous system. So to have kind of a perspective of where we head into. So just to review, remember we have receptors, they detect the stimulus, they send it to an integration center, which is the central nervous system. It processes and originate a response to that stimulus. And that is sent to a target organ, which usually is a muscle, and that target organ then receives the motor command that's coming from the integration center. And again, all of these happens in only one direction, from receptors to integration center to target organs. It cannot go back. It will be a kind of a disaster. So the integration center, which is your central nervous system, consists of the brain and the spinal cord, which structure and function, basic functions we described in the previous chapter. And the organization, how the brain and the spinal cord, actually brain and spinal cords, gray and white matter is organized in nucleus and tracts. Now, whatever is outside these two structures, the brain and the spinal cord, is peripheral nervous system, is what we're going to start today to describe. So the part of the nervous, let's say the part or the nerves that are coming out from the brain, the cranial nerves, and the ones coming out from the spinal cord are peripheral nervous system. Those are the cranial nerves and the spinal nerves. Now, remember that the peripheral nervous system has two divisions. One that brings information from okay, now one that brings information from the receptor, right, to the central nervous system, and that is the sensory or afferent division. And we have also the branch that carries information from the brain and the spinal cord, but to the target organ. And remember, this target organ can be, or usually is, a muscle. How do we put a muscle in here? This is my muscle. That's an ugly muscle, right? But it can be a skeletal muscle, it can be a cardiac muscle, or it can be a smooth muscle tissue. Smooth muscle tissue that also can be present in glands. So those are the target organs. Now, the sensory and afferent, or the motor or efferent divisions, have both a somatic and a visceral division. Today, we're going to study only the somatic division. What is the somatic division? Remember, is the one that innervates skin and skeletal muscles, your shell, okay? And the visceral division, which are the glands, the smooth cardiac, missing the C? No, the C is in there. The smooth and cardiac muscle tissues is going to be studied on the next chapter, where we cover the autonomic nervous system. Now, in this chapter, we are going to describe then the receptors, that the somatic receptors that brings these receptors, but only the somatic, that are going to, using sensory or afferent fibers, are going to bring the information, somatic information, to the brain. So remember, this somatic information reaches the post-central gyrus or postcentral sulcus on the parietal lobe, which is the somatosensory cortex. These receptors, remember, we have general, meaning that they are widespread throughout your entire body, and we have special, and special means that they are cluster forming an organ. The vision, the organ of vision, your eyes, and the organ of hearing and balance, which is your ear. These two are not going to be covered in this class, actually, in the entire course, because honestly, I don't feel that is relevant for your majors. Uh, we are going to cover, in general, the receptors. We're going to describe first the somatic receptors of pain, temperature, touch, vibration, pressure, proprioceptions. Those are located either on the skin and the skeletal muscle. They're going to send the information to the brain and the spinal cord to deliver a somatic effect. So those somatic effects, remember, they are targeted or aimed to skeletal muscles, okay? So the visceral division, again, is going to be discussed in chapter 15, which is the autonomic nervous system, okay? The involuntary nervous system that includes the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. So again, today we are going to describe only this way. The general somatic receptors, we're going to describe them. That's the first part of this lecture. How this somatic sensory information arrives to and in which part of the nervous system. And then we're going to describe the motor or efferent fibers, okay, or nerves, because in here we are going to talk about ganglia and nerves that brings information to the muscles, which, remember, they are under our voluntary control. So this is what we're going to do today. Buckle up as always, because we're ready to blast off.